Once upon a time, in a prestigious university, a wise professor was sitting with his students after a lecture. One of the students, troubled and eager for guidance, raised his hand and asked, "Professor, how can we control our anger?" The professor smiled and said, "That is an important question. Let me share a story with you. By the end, you may discover the answer yourself." In a bustling city, there lived a wealthy businessman known for his fiery temper. He would lash out at his employees over minor mistakes, yell at his servants, and make rash decisions in his anger. But once his fury cooled, regret would take over. He had wealth, yet he was losing respect. He had power, yet his relationships were crumbling. His home was grand, yet it lacked peace. One evening, as he sat in his lavish garden, an old monk in saffron robes arrived at his gate seeking alms. The businessman, still fuming from an argument earlier that day, let the monk in and said, "I will give you whatever you need as the alms. But first, answer my question. How can I control my anger? I lose my temper so easily, and despite all my success, I feel restless and unhappy." The monk smiled gently and reached into his robe, pulling out a small glass vial. "This," he said, "is a powerful medicine for anger. Whenever you feel your temper rising, put 4 drops on your tongue and hold them there for 10 minutes. But there is one rule. You must not speak during those 10 minutes. If you do, the medicine will lose its effect." The businessman was skeptical, but intrigued. He accepted the vial and decided to try it. Over the next few days, whenever he felt anger bubbling up, he reached for the vial, placed the drops on his tongue, and kept silent for 10 minutes. At first, it was difficult. He wanted to shout, to argue, to assert his authority. But he followed the monk's advice. Slowly, he noticed something remarkable. By the time 10 minutes had passed, the anger that once seemed uncontrollable had faded. The harsh words he wanted to say no longer felt necessary. Instead of reacting impulsively, he found himself responding with calmness. After a week, the monk returned to his home. The businessman greeted him warmly and said, "Your medicine has worked wonders. My anger is under control, and I feel a peace I've never known before." The monk chuckled and said, "My friend, there was no special medicine in that bottle. It was just water. You did not control your anger because of the medicine. You controlled it by keeping silent." The businessman stood in stunned silence, then smiled as realization dawned upon him. The professor looked at his students and asked, "How many times have you spoken in anger and later wished you hadn't? How often has a single moment of rage damaged your relationships, your reputation, or your peace of mind?" The students sat in thoughtful silence. "Anger is like fire," the professor continued. "If you feed it with words, it spreads uncontrollably. But if you stay silent, it loses its power." The monk's medicine was not about curing anger. It was about pausing long enough to let wisdom take over. Then he leaned forward and asked, "So, tell me, do you control your anger, or does your anger control you?" This story teaches us, if we reflect on our own lives, we'll see that anger often leads to words and actions we later regret. When anger takes control, reason disappears, and emotions dictate our choices. But the truth is, anger only lasts a few moments. If we can pause, remain silent, and let it pass, we can save relationships, avoid unnecessary conflicts, and protect our peace of mind. So the next time you feel anger rising, take the medicine of silence. Close your mouth, take a deep breath, and let the moment pass. Most fights, regrets, and mistakes can be avoided with just a little patience. I know that no one is perfect in this world. Sometimes we go out of track and lost our control. So tell me, Have you ever experienced a time when staying silent could have saved you from trouble? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your experiences. If this story gave you something valuable to think about, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Epic Inspire Stories for more powerful life lessons. And remember, silence is not just the absence of words, it is the presence of wisdom. Stay inspired and keep rising.